I want to introduce now Father Peter Vasko, OFM, President of the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land. Father Vasko is actively involved in the international diplomatic community in Jerusalem and serves as a liaison and guide for the White House through the U.S. Embassy, as well as with the municipality of Jerusalem. He also serves as chaplain for the Marine Security Guard for the U.S. Consulate there in Jerusalem. He's the author of a photo essay of Israel called See, S-E-E, The Holy Land, and is in the process of writing a new book entitled Jesus, Journey in the Holy Land. And as we mentioned earlier, the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land will be holding an important fundraiser here in Dallas on Saturday, September 13th, 7 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North as the keynote speaker. And for more information on that and ticket reservations, please call Susan Stanzel at 214-521-8779, something very important to support these days. Father Vasko joins us by phone. Good afternoon, Father.
Good morning, Stacy. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's been kind of a rough week, so I'm glad that we have a chance to speak to a priest on the air for a little inspiration and big picture on all of this tragedy that's going on in the world.
To speak with you and to your viewers on it's been a very difficult situation for a long time. But as you know, you were speaking on the phone. The fact is that it seems that God is. First of all, men have free will; they can choose good or evil. And unfortunately, in this era, it seems that evil is increasing day by day. People in the world aren't really interested in religion. So many are godless. So many are confused. We live in an age of relativism, especially, I think, in the United States. Growing up, we had value systems, and now things that were right are wrong, and things that are wrong are now right. And there's a total confusion among so many people, and we live in an age of relativism here in the United States. And it's something that is just creeping up more and more. And now we're seeing more evil being done. And the media really isn't interested in religion. It's interested in sensationalism. Mm-hmm. It's interested in something which was so tragic of that begetting of that poor man, that journalist. And it's got the news. But what was the reaction? What was the reaction of the United States? What are we doing? Well, it's just another isolated death. It really is sad. It's a very sad commentary that's happening, but maybe the Lord is using these terrible things perhaps to get our attention, to warn us of something in the future. I don't know. I'm not a prophet, but these things, it's very, very sad. And you were talking about hope, and I think when you talk about all these situations, I think that the hope that you're talking about that we can find is basically in Matthew's chapter 5, in the Beatitudes, when I think it's verses 10 to 12, something like, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed were you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." And I think this is the hope that Christians have to have, especially in the Middle East, what they're going through. I think that if we're true believers, all of us must carry the cross. Now, God gives some of us more heavier crosses than others. And sometimes it's very difficult, these crosses that we ought to carry. But he says, if you're a follower of mine, pick up your cross and carry it. I also think that every form of suffering is an opportunity for grace, which in turn I think gives us the strength to carry that burden. There's good and bad in the world, as we know, and I think sometimes God asks us to accept both. It's difficult when it affects us, or an individual. But what choice do we have? I think we have to trust in God's providence that He will see us through it. And this is to me is the only way that we can look at suffering and trying to make some sense out of it from a spiritual standpoint.
Do you see a growing indifference to Christian persecution within the Holy Land itself? And when we say the Holy Land countries, Holy Land, are you incorporating?
You're talking Holy Land. Yeah, when we talk Holy Land, we're speaking basically where Jesus was basically in Israel, present-day Israel, Palestine, etc. But if you look in the Middle East, look at Lebanon, which was a very Christian country. Look at the ongoing exodus that recently from Iraq with the ISIS situation. I think there is an interest, but it doesn't seem to get people excited enough. Other Christians, like other religions. I mean, they. I think for example, in Israel, the Jewish people can feel the sadness and the tragedy of such events. But in the Middle East, it's 90% are Muslim. And so, is there a concern for the Christians? I don't hear any Muslim leaders speaking up in the Middle East about the Christians and what they're suffering. So I think there's a bit of indifference, basically because of minority and majority numbers. And so, we're sort of in many ways on our own. The only one that would speak up are the church leaders in the United States who are saying things. I mean, politically, you can, whether the president says one phrase or not, it doesn't. It's tragic. It's a very sad state of affairs. It's barbaric, and then it stops there. So, where's the great support sometimes that I don't see from our political leaders here in the United States? But that's just my private opinion.
Yes, and I wonder if that just reflects kind of the society in general, that we've got, such a short attention span. We can't focus on this gruesome, barbaric act for, any length of time before we're distracted by the next entertainment news or trendy fundraiser. And then we expect our leaders to take a position. I don't know. I guess.
You're totally correct, Stacey. You're totally correct.
It's so frustrating.
Of our society. It's the sensationalism. Okay, get back to work, do your thing, and ignore everything.
Oh, it's not on my soil. It's not. They don't have the same color of skin as I have. It'll never come here. Why should I care? So I want you to tell us a little bit about the plight of the Christians themselves in Israel. What's going on there? And when we say Christians, are you referring mostly to the Palestinian Christians?
Well, yes. I'm talking about the indigenous Christians. You have right now about 7.8 million people. Out of that, you have about 1.8 million of the Muslim, and there's only 150,000 Christians across the board, the indigenous Christians that are there. And for over the last few 20 years, a lot of the young people, Christians, were losing hope. They were exiting the Holy Land, and the Franciscans, who have been there for 800 years, looked at this problem. It's a challenge, and we said, if we don't do something about it now, within 60 years, as most church officials are saying in the Holy Land, Christianity will disappear from the very place that Christ founded his church. I'm talking about Israel, Palestine proper. And they're leaving because of political and economic reasons. Of course, economically, there's an unemployment rate among the Christians. There's only right now about 5% of the 65% of the people who are unemployed are Christians. Economically speaking, they receive no really financial funding from world governments. The United States gives Israel, which is our ally, $5 to $6 billion a year, which is fine. They give the Palestinian Authority, I think, $700 million last year. But none of that money ever trickles down to the Christians. It either goes to the needs of the Jewish people or the needs of the Muslim people. And so they're getting very frustrated about this. Politically, of course, another reason from the political end of it is the fact that you have the wall, the separation barrier, which is considered part of the closure of the territories, where people who were working, Christians who were working in Bethlehem, in principal Israeli cities like Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, are now not able to cross over. Some of them can, and some of them can't. They need a permit from the Israeli government. So that has caused a lot of difficulty. And the wall, of course, which separates the country, is 380 miles long. It's not finished yet, but it has prevented people from mobility. And so the problem is, the reason it was built was to stop those terrible terrorist activities that were killing, suicide bombers that were killing a lot of the Israeli people. And so it's a two-edged sword. I think it's important to make prevention, to have some prevention, but at the same time, it has other effects. Keeping out those terrible terrorists, those people. But what about the good people who are not terrorists? They're affected by that too. So there was the problem of hope, of why stay here in this country. So the Franciscans back in 1994 began the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land to do one thing, to stem the Christian exodus by motivating our young people to remain. And that was done basically through higher education and vocational training. And so we have given over 266 college scholarships to these 266 students who were economically marginalized but showed great academic ability. And now these young people who are leaving are now staying, and they're doctors, they're pharmacists, they're businessmen, they're engineers, they're architects, they're accountants. These are the people who are going to leave, and through these programs, these young people are now staying. It's sort of only a small dent in the population, but if we didn't start this, you would have had more and more people and families leaving, going to the United States, going to South America, or Canada to seek a better life. But we've given them hope, and now they're getting jobs, and they're very happy now. So we're very proud of the fact of what the foundation has done, but there's always hundreds of other young Christian students who are waiting in the wings to be helped and assisted. With this year, we're giving like 30 scholarship grants to 30 deserving Christian students. The majority of them are of the Catholic faith. We have a few from the Anglicans, the Greek Orthodox, the Armenian Orthodox, because you have to remember, this isn't a Catholic problem. This is a Christian problem. So when you have 150,000 people out of almost 8 million people, and it's going down, we have to provide some type of motivation and incentive for these young people to stay. And we've been doing that very successfully with the help of God and with the generosity of the American Catholics, and especially the Catholics in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, who over these many years have really assisted us tremendously in maintaining these programs that will motivate our young people to remain.
That was going to just be my next question for you, why it's so important for Christians here in the United States, Catholics in particular, Catholics here in Dallas, to be aware of what's happening in the Holy Land and in the Middle East in general, and why their support is necessary.
If we don't have a sense of who we are, Stacey, as Christians, if we don't have a sense of our religious roots and heritage, then how can we call ourselves followers of Christ? Our church is dying. It needs to be rebuilt. And who's going to do it? I have very many Israeli Jewish friends. They're wonderful people. They certainly understand our situation and supportive morally. But I don't receive any funding from my good Jewish friends. I have some good Muslim friends. Same thing in the same category. They feel with us, but I have to go to the people of the church, the mystical body of Christ. They're the only ones, because it is their church. It's not just my church. It is their church. It's the church of these Christians who have been maintaining the guardians of Christianity for all these centuries. And if we, as brothers and sisters in Christ, in solidarity don't help them, then when you would come 60 years later, all you're going to find are empty religious monuments and museums and no living, worshiping community. So we have, I think, a moral obligation to uphold and to maintain. And many Catholics and Christians rarely hear about this Christian exodus. It's from time to time the U.S. Bishops' Conference have spoken about it, but it's not on the minds of people, and you don't hear it. And when I go around the United States, this great country of America, like I'm doing now, people say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that." But it's, there's so many agendas in the church, but this is one that is so important because it affects who we are. This is our history. Of the three monotheistic, the leaders of the founders of the three monotheistic religions, it was only Jesus who was born in the Holy Land, in Bethlehem. Abraham was born in Iraq, in Ur. And Muhammad was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. But it was Jesus was the only one that was born in this land. So we, in a way, have a very special stake in this land. And when we know that our Christians are leaving, that our Christians are suffering, but that the more importantly, we have to help maintain. We have to maintain that presence. If we don't, we will not have a living community in that area. And so, once again, I believe we have a very strong stake to be there and to make sure that there will always be a Christian presence in the Holy Land.
Well, Father, we want to thank you and the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land for everything that you're doing to help preserve our Christian heritage there. And I encourage everyone to please attend the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land's 20th anniversary benefit dinner on Saturday, September 13th, 7 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. So it'll be a very nice affair with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North speaking. I'm sure it'll be a lively discussion. And for reservations, please call Susan Stanzel at 214-521-8779. And Father Peter, thank you so much again for coming on today. I really needed to hear some words of encouragement and insight from someone who has spent an enormous amount of time over there in the midst of all this tragedy. Thank you for your time.
Well, I thank you for having me on your show. I thank and I ask the Lord to bless your ministry that you're doing right now, and giving up-to-date reports about what is happening within the world, especially for Christians. And I know God will continue to bless the work that you're doing now. And I really thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Any other words of advice for those of us here?
I think we should never lose hope. I think we have to trust in divine providence. We have to put ourselves in God's hands. And every day when we wake up, the present is God's gift to us, and we have to use it to do two things. We have to use it to love Him this day and to love others. And that's all. We don't have tomorrow because we don't know what the future is, and we don't worry about the past because it's water under the bridge. We can't change it. We can only learn from it. We have to live in the present day, and all we have is every morning we wake up is what God has given us, and let's use it wisely for Him.
And let me just ask you quickly, in terms of pilgrimages, with all of this, crisis going on, and of course the war between Israel and Hamas right now, what are your thoughts on the pilgrimage front?
Well, I know that I am a guide. I do give pilgrimages through the Franciscan Foundation, etc. And recently, there's been a lot of cancellations because of the problems with the rockets and different things back and forth in Gaza, and that has diminished the number of people coming. I think until that thing is resolved, people are going to be a bit weary. But we have to remember one thing in all of this: Gaza is 150 miles away, and nothing has really. Rockets have not really gone into Jerusalem at all, and that's where we basically stay, and we go up to Galilee. So, it's everything is location, Stacy, and guiding and pilgrimages, and the places we go to are places that are basically safe. I've been guiding for 29 years. The only time I stopped guiding was during the Iraqi war. Desert Storm. But after that, these little conflicts that come and go, they don't really affect the pilgrims. But pilgrims, Americans, tend to be sort of reactionary, and when they see something, they say, "Oh no, it's not safe." At the present moment, yes, it seems to be that way, and until things settle down a little bit, I think there's going to be less pilgrims coming. But hopefully, in the next few months, things will settle down, and pilgrims will continue to come again. I mean, they're still coming. People are coming from Europe, from America, but not as many.
Well,
we encourage people to come and seek the Lord in the Holy Land. It's such a powerful experience. It really is.
Oh, I look forward to it. I want to get on a pilgrimage soon, one of these days. And
you've got to come and take me as your guide.
Oh, well, I'd love that. Thank you. And I'll bring my kids along with me. And I have a Orthodox Jewish friend who said to me, if I wait until peace comes to the Middle East, I'll be waiting in eternity. So
that's right.
I just got to jump in.
You jump in, and it's not that bad as you think it is.
That's right. Well, it's all right. I guess if I'm going to go down in Jerusalem wouldn't be such a bad thing. But anyways, no.
No, not at all.
Well, thank you so much, Father. Appreciate again your time and all that you're doing over there. And we will keep you and your foundation in our prayers. And we hope that everyone will come out in support of the Franciscan Foundation for the Holy Land on September 13th here in Dallas. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.